Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and apply to trade our money with just the process of $120. Today, we're going to be doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week from the yearly Pro Trader seminar that we're doing. We always have these seminars every year, super exciting because all the guys come down, Jim, Nikolai, Jared, a few others, and it's great. Jim right now is presenting his secrets of trading, so I'm sure you guys will probably see some of the footage here in a second. But other than that, overall, hedge funds this week loaded up on tech stocks right at the bottom. If you guys remember December of last year, 2018 was the worst year for stocks on record since the Great Depression. So they were able to buy literally right at the bottom. The most owned stock is Facebook, followed by Microsoft, Alphabet, which is the owner of Google, Amazon, and Alibaba as well. Judging by the early counter in quarter one, in 2018, there was a record amount of corporate buybacks of companies buying their own stocks. If you guys remember what I told you guys about literally the kind of unethical games that CEOs are playing where the companies are buying the stocks, but the CEOs are kind of letting go of their stocks at the same time. We actually may see, if the trend continues this year, a record year for corporate buybacks that are going to supersede the record that was placed in 2018. The three major indexes this week are all at their highest level since November 8th, lifted obviously by the fact that we have a potential, or they're starting to get an agreement with the trade war between China and the US. That caused a lot of great news, or a lot of great hype for the markets that caused the markets to go up. Overall, the US indices for the week, the Dow is up 0.29%. The S&P 500 raised a quarter, 0.25%, and the NASDAQ went up 0.44%. Overall, in the international market news, the European markets are mostly mixed for the week. The London FTSE was down 0.81%. The Frankfurt from Germany, the DAX, went up 1.4%, and the Latin American markets are mixed for the week as well. The biggest winner was the Mexican exchange, 1.61%, and the biggest loser was the Brazilian Bovespa. It went down by 0.08%. Other than that, in Asia, most of the markets in Asia went up for the week. The Chinese SEC, SSEC, went up by 4.55%. And Bitcoin, finally this week, got a little bit of recovery. We saw a 10.39% gain for the week at just under 4,000. And other than that, we're starting to see signs that it might actually hit 4,000. I haven't checked it this weekend, but those were the results for last week. It's the first time that it's hit 4,000 in over a month, and a lot of the other cryptocurrencies as well have gone up. Ethereum, Ripple, EOS, all of them went up as well. In financial news, over the past few years, the Icelandic judiciary system, Iceland, which is a country right in the Atlantic. If I can do this backwards, you have US over here, you got Europe, it's, right in the middle. They have actually sent 36 bankers to a total of 96 years in prison for their responsibility in the banking system collapse in Iceland in 2008. The question I have is, why haven't other countries done this? Because, at the end of the day, it was the bankers that caused the crisis in 2008, 2009. And a major blow to Venezuela, the socialist paradise of Venezuela, Gazprom, which is one of the state banks in Russia, froze the accounts of PDVSA, which is the state-controlled oil company in Venezuela. If you guys remember, Russia was one of the only countries that is actually helping Venezuela right now. Maduro, which is some people are saying illegitimate president. Now they've frozen their accounts. Over the weekend, there was quite a bit of a scuffle in the border as well. They closed the border with Brazil, and Maduro's regime literally set trucks on fire that were coming into Venezuela on the Colombian border, giving humanitarian aid. So not the nicest guy blocking aid to his own people in Venezuela. Other than that, the annual rate of inflation in 2009 is going to go past 10 million%, while the country's opposition-controlled National Assembly, which is the leader of that, his name is Guaido. He's saying that the inflation is actually going to top 1.6 million% in just December. And other than that, Maduro keeps blocking the borders for the humanitarian aid to be able to come into Venezuela. Two largest providers of index funds in the world. This is essentially where people invest their mutual funds and their 401ks. BlackRock and Vanguard took together 57% of the global net inflows into long-term mutual funds in 2018. And other than that, the actual inflows, even though they took in so much, went down by 70% from 2017 to 2018. Meaning in 2017, there was a record set, $2 trillion went into literally, let's call it retirement funds, right, into these mutual funds that most people invest in for their retirement. In 2018, it went down 70% to just $606 billion. U.S. Treasury yields for the mix for the week. You guys remember the lesson that I gave you whenever I'm going to try to do this in the video, whenever the short-term interest rates go up and the long-term interest rates go down, and they actually invert, meaning that let's say the 3-month interest rate for the bond is higher than a longer-term interest rate like the 2-year, it's an indication of a recession. And if you guys have been following me for a while, I've been warning you guys for about 4 or 5 years to get prepared for this, due to the fact that it's going to be a tough one. So the 3-month is now at 2.45%, with 2 years at 2.48, which literally, in a few more weeks, they're going to actually invert, which is the first indication that some people say is for the recession that's coming. Warren Buffett posted a rare loss of $25 billion in Q4. He lost quite a bit of money over the year. He still made $4 billion for the year in 2008, but he lost quite a bit of money in that Q4 due to the volatility. If you guys remember, December of last year, 2018, was the worst December on record for the stock exchanges since December of the Great Depression in 1929. He lost $4 billion as well last week due to a 30% Kraft Heinz drop from the SEC investigation due to their accounting practices. And if you guys remember, about a month ago, I reported that some of the decisions that Warren Buffett is going to be making are not going to be good for his portfolio. If you guys want to go back and see that, you guys can now see some of the results of that, those investments that he's making now. In commodities, oil hits a 3-month high. U.S. crude is plus 3.45% at 57.26. International crude went up 1.81% at 67.08. Gold rose to their highest level in the last 2 weeks on Monday. This has to do with the dollar weakening due to the hoping of the trade deal between China and the U.S. Obviously, if there's not a calamity, or if there's not, let's say, nervousness in the streets, then everything kind of goes back to normal. Part of the reason why the dollar has risen is because everybody's afraid of what's going to happen to the economy. December, where we had the market just literally tank and the market not really recovering until the last few weeks. When people get nervous, they invest in what they think is secure, which is what they believe in, which is the U.S. dollar. So if the U.S. dollar rises, most commodities, physical products are in dollars. The value of those go down as the dollar goes up. And also there's a situation, if you guys remember, where the Fed, the central bank in the United States, had dovish sentiments, which basically means, if you guys see that on TV, it basically means that they're not going to be as aggressive with raising the interest rate. So that drops the demand for the dollar as well. Palladium, precious metal. If you guys don't know what palladium is used for, on the bottom of your car, you guys will see kind of a little a machine or a little box about this big. It's kind of like an egg shape. They use palladium in that piece of the car to be able to control pollution. So palladium has actually gone up higher than gold to $1,500 an ounce, to a record. And now a lot of car manufacturers are in a rush to get access to the metal, because it being so expensive, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the car companies, because they have to comply with the federal regulations in terms of, the EPA standards, the all of that in terms of the environment and what the government requires them to do. Gold overall for the week went up 0.45%. It got to $13.28. Silver's up 0.88%, went to $15.99. Almost above that mining price, right? I talked to you guys about that as well. Political news: President Putin offers financial incentives to hard-pressed Russians. He's not doing very good on the polls. Almost 50% of the population believes that the country's on the wrong track, and a lot of people in the opinion polls, he's gotten to a 13-year low in trust. One of the things that I'm going to talk to you guys about, let me see if I can just find it real quick here, is the head of NATO is actually talking about the dangers of Russia going after, let's say, Belarus. If you guys don't remember what happened in Ukraine, he came in and just literally took Crimea back, right? They used to be a part of Russia. He was saying that there's a lot of Russians there. I believe that one thing that's going to happen, I would say maybe about a year or two from now, he's going to start going in to try to take Belarus. He'll send his little green men, and then all of a sudden there'll be some kind of problem there, and then he'll literally take that back, and then that's going to boost support for Putin as a whole. Other than that, let me follow my place here. In the economic news, the U.S. health spending expected to grow by an average of 5.5% from 2018 to 2027. It's going to reach near $6 trillion as a lot more people become eligible for Medicare. U.S. home sales fell in January to its lowest level in 3 years. If you guys remember, the percentage of the economy that has to do with housing, not only the actual sales of houses, but the construction and the support. It's a very big chunk of the economy. So whenever we don't see very good numbers in home sales, that has a very big effect on the overall economy as a whole. Other than that, housing prices rose only modestly, which obviously is an indication that we're going to see a loss of momentum in the housing market. And as the housing market goes the economy as well. I think by the end of this year, 2020, we're going to have more of the indicators that indicate that the economy isn't doing as well as everybody says it is. German manufacturing dipped to its lowest level in 2012 in February. It also, the PMI, let me give you guys the name of the company. The IHS Markets PMI slipped to a record low of 47.6%. Basically what that means is Germany is one of the biggest exporters in the world. They're a manufacturing powerhouse. And if their numbers go down, that means that not a lot of people are buying their products. Fourth largest economy in the world. The economy isn't doing well. Japan isn't doing well either. You know, we're kind of walking into that recession or economic contraction overall. In corporate news, Uber, the most highly valued private U.S. startup in the world. It's planning to do an IPO. They lost only $1.8 billion in 2018, down from $2.2 billion the year before. So they're doing a little bit better, even though they're still losing billions of dollars. Sales for Walmart, which is the largest retailer in the world, grew above expectations, 4.2% over the quarter four, and their rise in digital sales, since they're trying to compete with Amazon, rose 43%. Shares in Danish shipping giant Maersk. If you guys don't know who Maersk is, it's one of the largest shipping companies in the world. So they dropped 10% on Thursday due to the fact that they're giving an early warning of the expectations for 2019. Essentially, if there's not things moving on ships, that means that there's not a lot of commerce, which means that the economy isn't doing as well that everybody says it's doing. Kraft Heinz went down 27% on Friday after they announced that they're under investigation by the United States SEC for their accounting practices. Other than that, Pinterest, which is, if you guys use it, it's a social media platform similar to Instagram, but a little bit different. They're seeking an IPO with a valuation of at least $12 billion. They raised their revenue 50% in 2018 to over $700 million. In trade news, U.S. is asking China to value the yuan at a stable pace. If you guys remember, China, what it does is it manipulates its currency, right? So if Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, remember, I don't get political on this show. I just want you guys to understand what's happening with the economy and kind of learn how to connect the dots. Essentially, if Donald Trump places a 20% import tariff on the products made in China, well, then China, they just devalue their currency by 10 or 5% or 15%, and then the hit isn't as forceful for their economy, right? Because then instead of being 20%, they devalue the currency. It only hits them maybe 10 or 5%. So they're trying to look for an agreement where the U.S. is going to mandate China as part of the agreement to stabilize their currency, so they can't do that anymore. In technology, spending the last 2 years mapping its carbon footprint, Amazon is announcing that half of its shipments are going to be carbon neutral by 2030. They're going to likely use renewable energy like solar power, and also they want to have their delivery trucks and people delivering their items have it in electric vans, and also have all their shipments be carbon neutral by 2030. The EU agreed to impose caps on carbon dioxide for the first time with a 30% reduction in CO2, and also the manufacturing level of pollution by 15% by 2025. Elon Musk reiterates his high expectations to have his self-driving technology available by the end of this year, 2019, meaning that it's going to be able to pick you up. He's going to be able to pick you up and drop you off automatically without you actually driving. NASA is warning that SpaceX and Boeing, they need to have some safety concerns regarding their competing astronaut launch systems. SpaceX actually recorded its second milestone where they were able to use a reusable rocket the second time 3 times in a row, meaning they launched a rocket. Instead of actually throwing it away, they reused it 3 times, and now this is the second time where they reused it 3 times. And this is a key to Musk's hopes that he's going to be able to send humanity to Mars. And I don't know if you guys have seen as well, he talks about a vertical launch plane that goes to places like Australia or South Africa. You literally can get anywhere in the world in 30 or 40 minutes. Imagine being able to go to Australia for lunch, coming back to the US for dinner. It's absolutely amazing. Samsung unveiled its first consumer-ready foldable phone. It's called the Galaxy Fold. So, picture like this, a Galaxy S9. It's going to literally open like this and turn into a mini tablet of 7.3 inches. Retails for $1,980. Looks like Steve Jobs not being at Apple, they're not able to, they're just able to come up with bigger Apple phones and charge them for more. So Apple's going to need to be able to start to innovate if they want to compete to a lot of these other companies as well. In investment news, New Zealand is planning to update its law so we can start taxing revenue from companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is planning to invest $20 billion in Pakistan, including agriculture and energy sections, as the controversy with what happened with Khashoggi, the killing of Khashoggi, continues. Honda is going to close its only manufacturing plant in the country of the UK by 2021 due to the nervousness of what's happening with Brexit. It's going to lose at least 3,500 jobs. Japan Inc. is also pouring billions into the UK economy as a gateway to Europe, so that's going to affect as well, because a lot of people, if you guys remember, are moving away from the UK due to the Brexit. If you guys don't know what Brexit is, it's when the UK decided, they voted to be able to leave the European Union. Shares in UK supermarket chain Sainsbury's tanked 15% after British regulators voiced their concerns about the merger with Asda. Asda is actually owned by Walmart. If you guys remember, Walmart is the biggest retailer in the world, and if the deal is approved, it's going to create the largest supermarket in all of the country. International events, head of the EU's border control agency Frontex, they're stating that the number of illegal immigrants that came into the into the EU fell sharply for the 3rd year in a row, but the arrivals still remain very high at over 150,000, so they're saying that they need more controls. Former NATO Security Secretary, I mentioned to you guys what's going to happen in Belarus. Don't say I didn't tell you so when it actually happens. And in the unusual facts this week, in a testament to American capitalism, Mongolian regulator is temporarily suspending operations of the local KFC restaurants as 42 people were hospitalized and hundreds shows food poisoning after they ate at KFC. KFC is actually reporting that it might be the actual water supply, not the actual food that they sell. President Trump is signing a directive ordering the Pentagon to create the 6th legislative branch of the military. It's not legislative. It's the 6th U.S. military branch, the Space Force. Sounds like it's right out of a cartoon. It's the first new division of the military in the last 72 years. Media and tech mogul Barry Diller is saying that Hollywood is now irrelevant as Netflix has won the game due to the actual size and number of subscribers that they have. He says it gives them a real prominence, and this is horrible here at the end. Prominent Chinese businesswoman dubbed the Ivory Queen was sentenced to 15 years in prison by a Tanzanian court Tuesday for smuggling tusks of over 350 elephants weighing nearly 2 tons in Asia. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe.